Sagittarius, they'll see your success but never understand how. Your name is stuck in their mind. Sagittarius, if only they knew. If only they could see the nights you tossed and turned. The hours you lay there in silence staring at the ceiling. Whispering prayers not to be seen, but simply to survive. They will see what you've achieved. They will speak of the glow you radiate. But they will never understand the fire you had to walk through to be able to stand strong as you are today. And that is exactly what matters most. The universe doesn't owe them an explanation. Only you alone, know the price that was paid. Only you know how many times you broke apart just to be healed in a completely new way. In the next 30 minutes, we will not just talk about success. We will go deep into the feeling of rising, especially when no one believed in you. We will talk about what happens when the people who once turned their backs on you suddenly pretend they've always been there. We will talk about silence, sometimes louder than applause. This is not just a tarot reading. This is truth. A story written not only in the stars, but etched into the very scars you carry. You are not just a Sagittarius. You are a journey. A story the universe never intended to let the world forget. And if something inside you is stirring as you hear these words, that is no coincidence. That is resonance. That is timing. That is your soul responding. Try saying this out loud, or, if the moment feels right, write it in the comments as a declaration to the universe. I am ready to step into the great destiny of my life. Because sometimes, the act of speaking is the very first step toward becoming who you were born to be. Your voice carries weight in the universe. Never forget that. Take a deep breath. You are exactly where you need to be. This is your moment, Sagittarius. This is your sacred return. If what you hear today touches your heart, if you've ever felt that something greater is calling your name, even if no one else understands, like this video, share it, and help this light reach someone out there, someone who might be walking in the dark, just as you once did. Because this message is not just a tarot reading. It is a mirror, a flame, a gentle knock on the door of your soul, whispering, you are not done yet. There is still something ahead waiting for you. More healing. More rising. More truths that need to be spoken. And your name is echoing in the minds of those who once underestimated you. They may never understand how you did it. And they don't need to. Because you didn't live for them to understand. You live to fulfill what heaven wrote for you long ago. And that, right there, is what we will remember together today. Do you know what makes the light of a Sagittarius so different? It's not because it shines brighter than others. It's because that light was lit from within the darkness. People see you today, radiant, resilient, full of inspiration, and they think, you must have been lucky. They see you smile when you walk into a room. They hear you speak powerful words. They see you helping others, and they believe you've always been this way. But they don't know, and maybe they never will, that the light they admire is the result of you standing back up. Even when your soul was too tired to keep going. They see the light. But they don't understand the fire that has burned through you so many times. I used to believe that, in order to be loved, I had to explain everything. I had to share every night I cried alone. Had to open my heart and show every crack. But time and growth have taught me one thing. No one needs to understand your journey in order for you to be worthy. Some lights don't need justification. They only need to live true to their essence. As a Sagittarius, you don't learn how to pretend. You only know how to live truthfully. Even if that makes you feel alone in a world that prefers performance over sincerity. And it's exactly that honesty with your emotions, that courage to say, I'm hurting but I'm still going, that sets you apart. This society teaches people to hide their wounds. But you wear your heart like a banner, even knowing it could be hurt again. Sagittarius is not only the traveler of lands, but the traveler of emotion. You have passed through loss, betrayal, abandonment. But instead of closing your heart, you opened it again because you still believe in love, in kindness, in faith. And that is one of the most beautiful values this world needs today, the courage to be real. The courage to forgive. The courage to dream again, even after your dreams have once been stolen. I don't know where you are in your journey right now. Maybe you are at the loneliest stretch, where no one believes in you. Where you have to build a little fire by yourself just to stay warm. Or maybe you've started to see the first flicker of light. Whatever stage you are in, I want you to remember this. Your light is real. And even if others don't understand where it comes from, that doesn't make it any less valuable. So if you've ever heard someone say, "I don't understand how you manage to do all this," just smile. Because they don't need to understand. Maybe they didn't have the courage to walk through what you faced. Here's the question for you today. Have you ever had to reignite your own flame after nearly going dark? If your answer is yes, leave a comment below. I am the light I was once searching for. Not just to share, but so someone else reading it might realize they're not alone. And we will continue. Because there is something even deeper than light. It is the silence of those who once looked down on you, now being forced to remember your name. And that is what we are going to uncover right after this. I believe that every Sagittarius in life goes through a moment like a pilgrim standing in the middle of a desert, no map, no guide, only a vague belief that there is light ahead. Most of us will go through this, especially if you are a Sagittarius. It is the moment you realize you are walking alone. Not because you want to be lonely, but because your journey was never meant for the crowd. There are roads that only those who have endured, who have been hurt, who have been misunderstood, have the courage to continue walking. I remember once, someone said to me, "You've changed." I just smiled and replied, "No, I just no longer accept mediocrity." And somehow, that made people uncomfortable. When you start to realize you deserve something better. When you stop lowering yourself to please those who will never understand you, suddenly, you become a thorn in their eyes. Not because you're wrong, but because your light is too blinding. For a Sagittarius, change never begins from the outside. It starts within. From a quiet call of the soul. From a small tremor in the heart that tells you you can't live the same way anymore. And the special thing is, when you hear that call, you know you must go. Even if no one goes with you. Even if someone walks away. Even if the destination isn't clear. You still go. Because what keeps you alive isn't safety, it's truth. I believe that deep down, everyone knows what they need. But not everyone has the courage to choose what is right instead of what is easy. Sagittarius is the sign that dares to choose difficulty. Dares to leave the comfort zone. Dares to take risks, just to live authentically. And you know what? This society isn't kind to people like you. The world claps for those who conform, but stays silent before those who dare to be different. And you, in your own way, have chosen to become a version that cannot be copied. A story that cannot be duplicated. A soul that refuses to be boxed in. But the price of freedom is always misunderstanding. You may have been criticized for not walking the path everyone else chose. You may have been told you were strange simply because you didn't live the way they expected. Maybe you even felt like you were the one in the wrong. For not being able to pretend. But let me say this, you are not wrong. You were just someone who saw the truth too early. You were just someone who heard the call of the soul before others were ready. Your journey, though not glamorous, though not loud, is a sacred one. Because you dared to walk against the wind. Dared to stand when others told you to sit down. Dared to choose light, even when you couldn't see it yet at the end of the road. And in the middle of that journey, are moments that seem meaningless, but shape everything. The mornings you got up even when you didn't want to. The times you helped someone without expecting thanks. The nights you prayed without knowing if anyone was listening. That's when you were being shaped. That's when you were building a stronger version of yourself from the ashes. I used to think that to be great, you had to do something big. But it turns out, sometimes just living kindly in a cruel world is already an act of greatness. And you, dear Sagittarius, you are living proof of that. You kept a soft heart, even when the world grew harsh. You didn't let pain turn you into bitterness. And that is what makes you different. You are proof that it's possible to be strong and still gentle. To go far without losing your roots. To be remembered, not because you were loud, but because you were true. If you've ever felt lost, remember this: the souls who are called to lead the way are often not understood in their own time. But the light you carry will continue to spread, even when you're not trying. The lesson of this part is not, go prove them wrong. It is, you don't have to prove anything. Just keep living in alignment with your soul. Because when you do that, you're helping others who also feel lost, realize that they are not alone. The question I want you to pause and reflect on is: have you ever walked alone and ended up finding yourself along the way? If that has ever happened to you, leave a comment that is simple but powerful. I was once lost, and I found my own light. You might not realize it, but those words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. We will keep going. Because even though your light needs no validation, the truth always finds a way to speak. And something is happening, silently but powerfully. Your name is appearing in the minds of those who once walked away from you. Not because they miss you, but because they are starting to see what they once refused to believe. We will speak of that, right in the next part. Where light is no longer an abstract idea, but a truth that keeps the one who turned away from you lying awake. When light is no longer an idea, but becomes an awakening. A presence that cannot be ignored. A memory they can't escape. And you, Sagittarius, are the one who has stirred it awake. Have you ever felt it? That feeling, as if someone is thinking of you. Not quite longing. Not quite regret. But an unnamed confusion, when they realize you are no longer standing in the same place. Waiting for them. And that is what they are now facing. Not the pain of losing you, but the truth that they once lost someone who carried light, and now that light has moved too far ahead for them to ever reach again. Your name is no longer a gentle whisper in their memory. It is a question that pierces the night. Why is that person still rising, when I thought they'd fall without me? I used to believe that to be remembered, we had to cling to people with memories, with messages, with sorrow. But then I learned a lesson that only time and silence could teach. The strongest presence is sometimes when you are no longer there. When you quietly leave. When you heal. When you live honestly. When you live well. That is what makes them unable to stop thinking of you. Sagittarius is not someone who asks for recognition. But your genuine light, the courage to forgive, to walk away, to be reborn, is something that cannot be forgotten. They may not have realized it when you were still there. But now, every step forward you take becomes a mirror reflecting what they've lost. They see you living in peace. But they don't understand the nights you prayed in tears. They see you succeeding. But they don't know that you once had no one by your side when everything collapsed. And they see you shine, but they don't realize they were part of the darkness you had to walk through. And that's why your name lives in their minds. Not because you wanted it, but because you became the version of yourself they never dared to become. I believe one of the deepest lessons in life is when you no longer need others to understand you. When you stop explaining. Stop justifying. Stop hoping someone will finally see it. When you become silent, and let your light speak for you. Because some truths can't be forced into someone's awareness. They only recognize it when you're no longer there for them to ignore. And if you're a Sagittarius listening to this, I want you to know, you don't need to look back. You don't need to reclaim fairness. Because the universe, in its quiet yet perfectly just way, is teaching those who once dismissed you the very lesson they skipped. Not everyone can walk away and still carry a kind heart. But you did. The question I want to offer you today is this. Have you ever let go of someone you loved deeply, just to protect your own peace? If that speaks to you, write this in the comments as a quiet declaration to your soul. I'm no longer there. I'm living in alignment with my light. You never know who might read those words. Maybe someone is standing at the edge of letting go. Still wondering if they should choose peace or keep holding on to something already gone. Maybe your words will give them the courage to say, I deserve peace too. We live in a world that teaches us we need to be understood. That we have to prove we're good enough, strong enough, worthy enough. But the truth is, what makes you strong isn't what you prove. It's that you chose to move forward, even when no one saw you. You are living proof of that. Sagittarius doesn't live to get revenge. You live to move forward. And that is exactly why they can't forget you. I once watched a Sagittarius friend choose silence when she had every reason to speak up about the pain she had endured. But she just smiled, walked away, and built a happier life. Years later, the person who hurt her called, not to apologize, but simply to say, not a day goes by that I don't think about you. And that is the most beautiful form of justice. Not revenge, but awakening. When someone has to face your reflection every time they look at themselves, you don't need to speak. Because real light always makes the dark feel uneasy. In the next part, we'll go even deeper. Why the universe never forgets those who choose kindness. And why your silence is the key that opens doors no one else dares to dream of. Because you're not just being remembered. You're being called. And that moment, we'll arrive at it, right after this. I once wondered, who sees the good things you do when no one is there to watch? Who remembers the quiet kindness you gave without witness? Is there someone watching us from the other side of the universe? Not with eyes, but with a heart. Not to judge, but to witness the moments when we chose love. Even when no one was looking. And then I realized, yes, there is. The universe is not blind. God is not silent. The good you've done in secret. The times you stayed calm when you could have exploded. The times you forgave when you had every right to walk away, none of it is forgotten. No applause needed. No spotlight required. Because every act born from love leaves a mark on your energy. And that energy is now opening doors no one else can see. If you're a Sagittarius, you've probably felt invisible at times. Asked yourself, why do I keep giving, and no one notices? Why do the honest always hurt, while the fake get praised? I don't have a quick answer. But I have an experience. I once helped someone quietly, with no name, no expectations. Years later, something miraculous happened in my life. A door opened where I never imagined it could. And then I understood, the universe doesn't forget. It just waits for the perfect time, to give back in the most beautiful way possible. Kindness. Sincerity. Resilience, they are never forgotten. They are the seeds you planted in silence. And now, dear Sagittarius, this is the moment when those seeds begin to sprout. Not because you demanded it, but because you are finally ready to receive. I believe nothing is a coincidence. Every person you met, every hardship you overcame, every prayer you whispered when no one else was around. They are all part of a greater picture you have yet to fully see. But God sees. The universe sees. And the rewards you receive won't come in ordinary ways. They come in the smallest moments, a sudden phone call, a door opening, a deep sense of peace for no reason at all. I used to think rewards had to be grand. But it turns out, the greatest reward is often becoming the best version of yourself. And you, Sagittarius, you've done just that. You chose to live kindly in a world that makes it easy to be bitter. You chose truth over convenience. You chose love over revenge. And that is what makes you different. That is what makes you remembered in the highest frequencies of the soul. If you're listening to this and feel something stirring inside you, know that it is not random. This is the time. This is the harvest. This is when you begin to see the blessings from what you've planted. You're not searching anymore. You're receiving. Do you know what's most beautiful about a Sagittarius? It's that you give wholeheartedly, without expecting anything in return. You don't calculate. You don't compete. You help someone and then quietly walk away. Because you know the real reward doesn't come from people. It comes from heaven. And heaven never forgets. Maybe you once thought you were overlooked. But you weren't. You were being preserved for a more perfect time. Because the brightest light is often the one kept longest in the dark. Look back. Hasn't everything you lost made room for something better? Didn't the ones who walked away teach you how to stand on your own feet? Wasn't it the pain that taught you to love unconditionally? If you're nodding, if your heart says, yes, that's true, then I invite you to leave a comment, as a confirmation to your soul. The universe hasn't forgotten me. I planted light, and now is the time to receive goodness. That sentence isn't just for you. It's for someone curled up in the dark right now, about to give up hope. Maybe, through you, they'll remember, kindness is never wasted. There's a belief I carry from years of working with souls on their healing journey. That what you live truthfully will always be returned by the universe, not the way you want, but the way you need. Sometimes, the reward isn't material. It's a peace that silences everything. A morning you wake up no longer afraid. A day that passes without shame or regret. A heart big enough to forgive the one who once broke it. That is the real miracle. You've come far enough to realize this. Some things you once desperately wished to keep, you now feel grateful you lost. Because if they had stayed, you wouldn't have soared as high as you do today. You are the zodiac of the skies, of freedom, of inner light. You don't belong to places that wither. You weren't made to trap yourself in small relationships or narrow limits. You were born to lead the way, to inspire, to guide other tired souls. And I believe, deeply, that when a Sagittarius heals, the world around them starts to shift too. Not because you force it, but because the light you carry can warm a whole room, even when you're not trying. So what's the lesson here? It's to keep living the way you do. Don't stop being kind just because you've been hurt. Don't dim your light because others aren't used to brightness. And never believe that the universe doesn't see you. Because you are being remembered. You are being led. You are being called into something bigger than yourself. And the next part of this journey is when you begin to step into it. No more preparing. No more vague hoping. This is the actual shift. There will be signs. There will be doors. And you will know. Because your soul has been waiting for this moment for a very long time. We'll talk about that, right after this. When destiny is no longer something to dream about, but something you begin to live. And your light not only lights your own path, but the path for those who once thought light was something unreachable. because they had never met you. But now, they're about to. When destiny is no longer something to dream about, but something you begin to live, everything changes. Not in a loud way. Not through dramatic miracles. But through quiet movements of the soul. You begin to realize, you are no longer who you used to be. The things that used to hurt you no longer control you. The names that once brought you to tears now only make you smile calmly. The dreams that once seemed far away, now feel near, clear. Sagittarius is the symbol of rising. But not the kind of rising through resistance. It's a soft rebirth, a powerful gentleness. You don't need to scream that you've changed. The change speaks through your eyes. Through the way you stay silent when something used to make you explode. Through the way you smile as you walk away from what no longer fits. I've met many Sagittarians in my work with the human soul. And what do they have in common? They don't stop. Even when broken. Even when abandoned. Even when they sit alone by the roadside of life, they still get back up. Not to prove anything. But because, deep down, they know, they were born to keep going. I used to think strength was never falling. But I've learned, true strength is daring to fall, and choosing to rise again. Even when no one sees it. Even when no one praises you. If you're hearing this in a season of weariness, let me speak straight to your heart. You haven't failed. You're simply in a season of rest, to recover your wings. And when you rise again, the world will be stunned by the strength you've been growing in silence. Do you know why? Because you're a Sagittarius. Because you weren't born to stay in the dark. Because your soul was made of light, even if you forgot you were glowing. The most important lesson here isn't, try harder to be seen. It's, live in a way that makes you look at yourself and feel grateful you didn't give up. I want to invite you to do something. Pause for just a moment and look at yourself, not with judgment, but with compassion. Try writing down one thing you once thought you couldn't overcome, but somehow you did. And if you're ready, share it with me and everyone listening to this program in a simple comment. I once thought I would fall there, but today, I'm still walking forward. Just one line like that. But to someone reading, it might be the very first spark of light in their dark night. You see, Sagittarius doesn't need outward glory. What makes you truly admirable isn't your success, it's your resurrection. It's the way you can look back at a painful chapter of your life and say, I'm grateful for it, because it created the person I am today. And if this is the moment when you finally open your heart to receive the blessings the universe once held back from you, then what comes next is when you begin to fly with new wings. No longer who you used to be, but a version of yourself that is gentler, deeper, and more mature. What lies ahead is a story of something so beautiful, few will ever fully understand it. It is the art of rebirth, of becoming whole again, not by returning to what was, but by stepping into a new life where you no longer need to prove anything, except the peace you now carry within. We will continue this journey together. And I promise you, what's coming next will move your heart in ways words cannot describe. Are you ready, Sagittarius? I'll meet you in the next chapter.